Hello. Welcome to Captain Barty's Story Time. This evening, we will be reading chapter 29. In a lovely novel. Let's see. After Jenny's moved in, I find a block of salt and pepper granite in the fridge. Jenny lugs home chunks of bay salt, his hands stained red with iron oxide. He wraps his pink baby blanket around black granite cobbles and smooth-washed river rocks and slabs of sparkling mica quartzite, and brings them home on the bus. All those babies that Jenny adopts, a whole generation piling up. Jenny carts home sandstone and limestone, one blocky, soft pink armload at a time. In the driveway, he hoses the mud off them. Then he stacks them behind the sofa in the living room, and he stacks them in the kitchen corners. Every day, I come home from a hard day in the 18th century, and here's a big lava rock in the kitchen counter next to the sink, and there's a little gray boulder on the second shelf down in the fridge. Dude, I say, why is there a rock in the fridge? Jenny's here in the kitchen, taking warm, clean rocks out of the dishwasher and wiping them with a dish towel, and he says, "Because that's my shelf. You said so," he says. "And that's not just a rock, that's granite." "But why is it in the fridge?" I go. And then he says, "Because the oven is already full." The oven is full of rocks. The freezer is also full. The kitchen cabinets are so full that they're coming down off the wall. The plan was only one rock a day, but Jenny has such an addictive personality that now he has to cart home half a dozen rocks every day just to maintain his habit. Every day, the dishwasher is running in the kitchen, and the counters are spread with my mom's good bath towels covered with rocks so they can air dry. Round, gray rocks, square black rocks, broken brown, and streaked yellow rocks, travertine limestone. Each new batch that Jenny brings home, he loads in the dishwasher and throws the clean, dry rocks from the day before into the basement. At first, you can't see the basement floor because of all the rocks. And then the rocks are piling up around the bottom step. And then the basement's full to halfway up the stairs. And now you open the basement door and the rocks are piled up and they spill out into the kitchen. Anymore, there is no basement. Dude, the place is filling up, I say. It feels like we're living in the bottom of half an hourglass. Like somehow we're running out of time. Being buried alive. Jenny in his dirty clothes, his waistcoat coming apart under his arms, his cravat hanging in threads. He waits at each bus stop, cradling his pink bundle against his chest, and he bounces each armload when the muscles in his arms start to fall asleep. And after the bus comes, Jenny, with dirt smeared on his cheeks, snores, leaned against the drumming metal inside of the bus, still holding his baby. And at breakfast I say, "Dude, you said your plan was one rocket each day." And then he says, "That's all I do, just one." And I say, "Dude, you are such a junkie." I say, "Don't lie. I know you're putting at least 10 rocks in here a day. Putting a rock in the bathroom and a medicine cabinet." Then he says, "Okay, so I'm a little ahead of schedule. There's rocks hidden in the toilet tank, I tell him. And I say, just because it's rocks doesn't mean it still isn't substance abuse. Denny with his running nose, with his shaved head, his baby blanket wet in the rain. He waits at each bus stop, coughing, and he shifts the bundle from arm to arm. And with his face tucked in close, he pulls up the pink satin edge of the blanket to better protect his baby. This looks like, but really to hide the fact that it's volcanic tufa. And the rain's running off the back of his tricorner hat, and rocks tear out of the inside of his pockets. Inside his sweaty clothes, carrying all that weight, Denny keeps getting skinnier and skinnier, heaving around what looks like a baby. It's just a waiting game until somebody in the neighborhood gets him nailed for child abuse and neglect. People are just itching to declare somebody an unfit parent and put some kid in a foster home. Hey, but that's just been my experience. Every night I come from a long evening of choking to death, and there's Denny with some new rock, quartz or agate or marble, feldspar or obsidian, argillite. And every night I come home from forging heroes out of nobodies, and the dishwasher is running, and I still have to sit down and do the day's accounts, total to checks, send thank you letters, a rock sitting in my chair, my papers and stuff on the dining room table. They're all covered with rocks. At first I tell Denny no rocks in my room. He can put the rocks anywhere else, put them in the hallway, put them in the closets. After that I'm saying, just don't be putting rocks in my bed. But you never sleep on that side, Denny says, and I say that's not the point. No rocks go in my bed. That is the point. I come home from a couple of hours of group therapy with Nico or Lisa or Tanya. And there's rocks inside the microwave oven. There's rocks in the clothes dryer. There's rocks inside the washing machine. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 in the morning before Denny's in the driveway, hosing off a new rock. Sometimes the rock is so big he has to roll it inside, and he's piling it on top of other rocks in the bathroom and in the basement and in my mom's room. This is Denny's full-time occupation, is hustling rocks home. Denny's last day at work, at his banishment, his royal colonial governorship, stood at the doors to the custom house and read from a little leather book, and his hands almost hid the little thing, but it was a black leather with pages edged with gold. Gold paint and a few ribbons dangled from the top of the spine, and one black and one green and one red ribbon. Like the smoke vanisheth, so shall thou drive them away, and like a wax melteth at the fire, he read, so let the ungodly perish at the presence of God. And Denny leaned closer to me and said, the part about the smoke and the wax, Denny said, I think he means me. At 1 o'clock in the town square, his Lord High Charlie, the colonial governor, was reading to us, standing with his face bowed into his little book. A cold wind pulled the smoke out sideways from every chimney pot. The milkmaids were there, cobblers were there, the blacksmith was there, all of them, their clothes and hair, their breath and wigs reeking of hash, reeking of reefer, all their eyes red and wasted. Goodwife Lanson and Mistress Plain wept into their aprons, but only because mourning was in their job descriptions. A guard of men stood with muskets braced in both hands, ready to escort Denny out into the wilderness of the parking lot. The colony flag snapped, lowered to half-mast at the peak of the customs house roof. A crowd of tourists watched from behind their video cameras. They were eating popcorn out of boxes with the mutant chickens pecking crumbs at their feet. They're sucking cotton candy off their fingers. Instead of banishing me, Denny calls out, maybe I could just get stoned, he said. I mean, the rocks would make a nice going-away present. And all the wasted colonists jumped when Danny said stoned. And we looked at the colonial governor and then looked at their shoes. And it took a little bit for the red to drain out of their cheeks. We therefore commit his body to the earth to be turned into corruption. The governor read as a jetliner roared low, coming in for landing and drowning out his little speech. The guard escorted Denny to the gates of Colonial Dunsborough. 2 lines of men with guns marching, with Denny between them. Through the gates, through the parking lot, they marched him to the bus stop, to the edge of the 21st century. So, dude, I shout from the colony gates, now that you're dead, what are you going to do with all your free time? Well, it's what I'm not going to do, Denny says. And I'm sure as hell not going to act out. And this meant hunting rocks instead of jacking off. Staying so busy, hungry, tired, and poor that he would not have any energy left to hunt porno and wham the ham. The night after he's banished, Denny shows up at my mom's house with a rock in his arms and a policeman beside him. Denny wipes his nose on his sleeve. The cop says, excuse me, but you know this man. The cop says, Victor Mancini. Hey, Victor, how's it going? Your life, I mean. And he holds one hand up with a big flat palm facing me. I figure the cop means for me to high-five him, so I do so. But I have to jump a little because he's so tall. Still, my hand misses his, and then I say, yeah, that's Denny, it's okay, he lives here. Talking to Denny, the cop says, get this, I saved this guy's life and he doesn't even remember me. Of course. Oh, that time I was choked, I say. And the cop says, do you remember? Well, I say, thanks for bringing old Denny here, home safe and sound and all. Now I pull Denny inside and I go to close the door. So the cop says, you doing okay now, Victor? Is there anything you need? And I go to the dining room table and I write the name on the slip of the paper and I hand it to the cop and I say, could you arrange to make this guy's life a living hell? Maybe you could pull some strings and get him for a rectal cavity search. The name on the paper is his Lord High Charlie, the colonial governor. What would Jesus not do? The cop smiles and says, I'll see what's possible. And I shut the door in his face. Now Denny heaves the rock onto the floor and he asks, do I have a couple bucks to spare? There's a chunk of ashlar granite at a stone supply yard. Good building rock with good compression strength. Costs so much per ton, and Denny figures he can get this rock for $10. A rock is a rock, he says, but a square rock is a blessing. And the living room looks filled up by an avalanche. First the rocks were up around the bottom of the sofa, and then the end tables were buried with just lampshades poking out of the rocks. Granite and sandstone, gray and blue, black and brown rocks. And in some rooms we walk around stooped against the ceiling. And so I ask, what is he going to build? And Denny says, give me $10, Denny says, and I'll let you help. All these stupid rocks, I say. What's your goal? This isn't about getting something done, Denny says. It's about the doing, the process. But what are you going to do with all these rocks? And Denny says, I don't know until I collect enough. But what's enough, I say. I don't know, dude, Denny says. I just want the days of my life to add up to something. The way every day of your life, the way it just disappears in front of the television. Denny says he wants a rock to show for each day, something tangible, just one thing, a little monument to mark the end of each day. Each day he doesn't spend jacking himself off. Tombstone isn't the right word, but it's the first word that comes to mind. This way maybe my life will add up to something, he says, something that will last. And I say, there needs to be a 12-step program for rock addicts. And then he says, as if that would help. He says, when was the last time you even thought about your 4th step? That's our chapter. Lovely times with all of y'all.